right, everybody, welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. Yep, I'm just going to keep saying it. And you guys know what happens on Sunday. Well, technically, it's really not Sunday right now because it'd be kind of hard to get a video filmed and edited same day. Sometimes the actual goal for this project was that I'd be so far ahead on it video-wise that maybe I'm posting a video that I recorded a week ago, but that hasn't been the case. We've been basically recording or filming on Tuesday nights and Friday nights, sometimes even into Saturday, on the Cutlass so that I can get a video done and get it out on Sunday. And actually, I can't film on Saturday this week because I have to go down to Cletus's shop and pick up a tool that he was selling. So yeah, that probably won't make it into this video, but maybe we'll film something while we're down there, and we'll see who meets us at the shop to pick up the very large piece of equipment we bought from him, which kind of we've been going crazy with equipment lately. Got the new lift, got the crimper we've been using a little bit already, but that's not about the shop this video, it's about the Cutlass. So let's get into it. Alright, well, if you saw in last week's video, well, 2 weeks ago, Sunday video on the Cutlass, we got a little bit of work done on chopping up all of this mess, kind of getting some finishing work done in there. I may blend a little weld over that, or I may just plate this off and finish capping it like I did there. Need to put a little bit more weld into those two low spots right there, but I gotta admit, I nailed that filler piece really well. But we need to do one that's gonna go here. We need to do one that's gonna go on the end of the frame rail. Now that we've got the frame rails cut off nice and parallel and straight with each other. But I wanna pretty that up a little bit in there, make it where it's, you know, closed off. I've been kicking around the idea of like putting a piece of tubing, maybe it goes under that. I don't know if you can see that diagonal brace in there. So maybe it goes under that and it'll come from the interior of the car, and maybe we run a brake line through it, tee it off out to the caliper, or maybe we run the wiring through it for like the shock sensors or the laser sensor that I may or may not put on the front of this thing yet. I actually haven't decided on all of the electronics that I'm putting into the car yet. I have a few of them here. I've got my Holley Dominator, I've got my dash, got Pro 600 for the ignition, but I'm not 100% on other stuff that I plan to do just yet. I want to do some new stuff since it's my car. Maybe some turbo shaft speed sensors. Well, I only need one because I'm only going to have one turbo. But, you know, maybe a Davis VPS for the thing. I want to keep expanding my knowledge of different parts and pieces to use on customers' cars. So, who knows what I'm going to install on this thing. But I think it would be kind of neat to tuck the wiring away inside of the frame rail. Although I may need to look at where the steering shaft is going to come through. See if I can decide whether or not I'm going to do it through the frame rail like I did on Val's car. It's kind of nice in some ways because it gets it completely out of the way. But hopefully it doesn't end up in the way of other things like a turbo on Val's car. But another car, another topic, another day. But I do want to trim this out the rest of the way. I'll do the same thing over here to knock that lip off of it. I could just cut around right there just to eliminate that. You can see how it sticks out right there. That's a knuckle buster right there. If you're in working on the car and, you know, my coils may end up down here, and because my headers are going to be above. At least I think they're going to be above, you know, just from some of my visualizing. But I better quit talking and actually get to work. Yep, here we go. All right, well, let's get this piece made. And some of you may be wondering how I'm going to figure out how to get this all in one piece, or if I'm even going to be able to get it spliced together in one piece. And to be pretty honest with you, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get it in one piece at this point, because you know, you can take and do this manila envelope, and you can make it fit with the manila envelope and get to, you know, where it covers all of the open areas that you need to cover and all of that stuff. But I was not sure that I was going to be able to bend the steel piece in the shape that I needed to, you know, to be able to weld it. Because I'm trying to get, you know, the edge is really nice, so that basically once I weld it and then thin the weld back down with the grinder, where I've kind of piled on a little bit of extra weld, that I'll be able to grind it and it'll look like it was formed and is the kind of the original frame. That's what I'm going for in my head anyways. And kind of like that patch piece that I did on the back of the frame, you know, the back of this area here, I think it turned out pretty well. So I want to do that for everywhere else that I'm doing it too. And on that topic, I think I'm going to also plug, or at least cover, the holes that are on the frame rail where it turns and makes it wider to go along the outside of the car. You can kind of see them right there, right above the lift arm. If you're looking at the screen right now, that front lift arm, there's a few holes there that, you know, I think it would look better if I went ahead and smoothed them all off, just to make it a little nicer. Some of those are the factory holes for like the hold downs when they were transporting them, you know, like on the transport trucks, and you know, all of the G bodies and the A bodies and all of those cars had those, but they're not really places you can strap a car down into a trailer like a race car trailer or anything, because especially when you put the low front bumpers on these things, as well as, you know, just kind of use them on regular enclosed trailer life, you kind of have to usually custom make hold downs. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. You can see I'm fighting with my benchtop bandsaw here, and this thing has worked pretty good. We've had this thing for a couple of months now, and it's just a little swag off-road benchtop, you know, vertical bandsaw. It uses a I forget what they call that tool from Milwaukee there, that it's just gone right through my brain and I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, you mount it to it, and it's kind of like a little small benchtop vertical bandsaw. And it works really good, except sometimes when you're doing thin pieces, if the thin piece breaks off and goes down and wedges in between the blade and the little benchtop piece there, it basically locks the thing up, and that's not good for it's not good for the tool at all, like the actual electrical part of the tool. So there was some time in taking that apart, fixing it, but I just might be picking up something that's going to fix that after I finish recording this video. We'll have to see if it makes it into this video or not, but it something old Cleater put up for sale a little bit ago, and I jumped on it. Actually, I saw it while I was down there picking up my lawnmower that I won in the New England 900, and I was like, hey, you're selling that? Well, I want that, so hold on to it for me. So we're gonna run back down to Bradenton on Saturday, which is after I'm filming and editing this part of the video. Run down, pick that up, and then I've got my youngest daughter's gymnastics in Wesley Chapel. She's competing
in level 4 one time to hopefully move up to level 5 already. So that's pretty exciting for her. But I need to wrap up getting this piece of metal stitched back in here, or at least fit it, so that I can show you guys what it looks like in real time, because it's a pretty unique piece. And luckily it was thin enough that I could manipulate it by hand, but it's not just straight in line. That was the most difficult part. It's kind of twisted on the long axis, and maybe you'll be able to see that here in just a second.
What in the world? I think that'll work. So it's not 100% a perfect fit, but once I do a little, I'm gonna get it tacked in some spots, probably up in this corner up here, and then kind of push and pull and prod and keep pushing and tacking and pushing and tacking and pushing and tacking. I think it's probably gonna hang off of this corner just a little bit, but that's not a problem at all, because once I get it here, I'll come in and I'll skim the edge of this. I'll skim it off with the cutoff wheel, and then I'm hoping it will kind of tuck. And then once I doctor it up with the grinder a little bit afterwards, hopefully you won't even be able to tell that I did anything. And I decided that if I do add the wiring pipe, it will be on the passenger side, because all the electronics are going to be on the passenger side, like kind of all the other cars have been doing. It's just where they end up. So anyways, I'm going to fire up the old HTP welder and see what I can see what I can squish into place and get welded up. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do. So here we go.
All right, so one more time lapse to wrap up this video and get this piece installed, as well as some of the front stuff there. And I show a couple of things in this time lapse, or at least I saw a couple of things while I was watching this time lapse that I thought I could tell you guys about, that might help you out with you know, doing work like this for yourself. And the first thing is to get the piece tacked in where it fits the best, with being able to, you know, push it around and bend it to fit where it doesn't fit right now. Like you can maybe see the very back edge doesn't fit the frame rail super tight yet, but I have to plan ahead for that, because sometimes if you tack it in and then, you know, it's not square enough to cover all the areas you need to cover in the future, like as you bend it to fit, you just made yourself a bigger problem that you won't be able to fix when you weld it in. So kind of showing also that clamps are your friends when it comes to tacking all this stuff in and being kind of your third hand. And you can usually get a whole lot more force with a clamp than you can, you know, doing it by hand and trying to push and tack it, especially when you're trying to TIG weld all this stuff in. You have to have two hands for TIG welding, unless it's close enough where you can just fuse tack it together, which I do some of. But when I'm using filler rod, I have to have both hands, so I need to get it somehow held in place so that I can fill it in with, you know, tack the two pieces together with the TIG welder. So another thing that I do a lot of, that I've had some people in person ask me about it, so I thought maybe I'd tell you guys about it too, is you'll see sometimes that I'm using a hammer to hit another hammer. Well, what that allows me to do is I use typically a ball peen and hold the ball peen right on the edge that or the ball end of the ball peen right on the edge that I'm trying to manipulate. And then I hit that ball peen hammer with another hammer, just kind of some light taps, just so that I can focus on hitting exactly where I need to hit, because the ball peen hammer is right exactly in the right spot. And then I hit the other hammer and it gives me like a little bit more precision metal manipulation, let's say, than if I were to just swing and hit the metal with the one hammer and probably miss by 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch.
Well, y'all, I'm tired. It's 11 o'clock on Friday night. Time for me to go home. But we did a thing, and it looks pretty good, I think. Got a nice little edge on the bottom there. That's just the heat zone there. That might be a little spot I could touch up right there, but it's on the bottom of the frame. You can't see it. Welded the bottom. This deal here, which I ruined a gas lens for my cup because there was grease or something between the two layers of frame rail. And when I started welding it, it liquefied and then put a giant blob on my gas lens there. So anyway, got us a new one of those. Pushed and prodded and pulled, and you know, we got that to go in there really nice. Actually really happy with that. And then I made this piece, tacked it in. I've got maybe just a little bit of filler, so I did 2 passes of the filler rod just to give me something to grind back to without taking any thickness out of this, because this and this piece are 50 thousandths thick. And then I thought I had some 1/8 inch for the front plates because I want to match the frame rail as close as I can. That's about an 1/8 inch thick. I wanted to match that about as close as I could, but I'm out of 1/8 inch 4130 chromoly plate. Not sure how that happened, but I ordered some from McMaster Car at like 10:45, and it still says it's going to be here on Monday. Guess we'll see. If it is, I will get this together on Monday, and then we're going to start doing the tubes underneath to tie all this together, and I'm going to end up mocking up the fenders on it, like I said in the last video, to figure out where exactly everything's going to be so that I can mock this up. And basically I want the front tube that's coming around the bottom here to end up pretty much right under the radiator. It makes it nice and easy to fabricate radiator mounts and bars that come forward and all that stuff. But like I said, I'm tired. I'm going home. Made some good progress again. I'm excited how that's going to look when it's down on the ground, and there's a cool looking shock sitting in there from AFCO. Got to do a couple of tabs off of here still. But I think that all has worked out pretty well. Yeah, square enough. I do still have to figure out what I'm going to do there, which I think I may get the torch out and burn that mess out of there so that I can not ruin more welding equipment when I go to weld on it. That's one bad thing about TIG welding, is whenever you get some kind of impurity, a lot of time it explodes and it goes right into the TIG torch. And those consumables get expensive when you're burning them up all the time. But I'm going home, going to bed. Thank you all for watching, following along, subscribing. So I mentioned earlier in the video that I might film something while I was down at Cletus's picking up a new tool. Didn't do that. Ended up, it was crazy hot. We were trying to beat a rainstorm, get this thing loaded in. It was just me and my girlfriend, because all the guys were busy doing their stuff, and it's their weekend. They shouldn't be at their shop on the weekend working. But we're back at my place up in Alachua, and the weather actually feels really good today. Like maybe we're getting past that incredibly hot summer stage where it's just miserable to be outside. But I figured I'd show you the thing that I bought, and ironically it's going to fix that problem that I had in the middle of the video with that little bench top vertical bandsaw thing. And I'm probably squinting because it is kind of bright out here. But I bought that, a slightly larger version of what we were using there in the shop, and it's kind of large. So huge vertical bandsaw. It's got a nice tight gap on the deck up there. A lot of adjustability as far as being able to
changed the level of the bed itself to cut stuff on angles, and Ty tells me this thing works awesome. He said he got it all dialed in, make sure it cut nice and straight and true. So pretty excited to use that. They upgraded to some newer stuff in their shop, and so I came home with that. So I'm gonna replace some of that wiring where it's a little chewed up there on the edge, and just strapped her in the old truck with some ratchet straps. It was a little sketch riding home from down there. Look at all the bugs on the front of it. I guess I might have to clean those off before I put it in the shop too. But yeah, thought you guys might want to see that. I got to get back inside. It's really bright out here, and I left my sunglasses inside. So thanks again for watching, subscribing. See you guys in the next one.